I don't have my tea. Okay, no, it's fine. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be something that I haven't done before. It's going to be a 2021 book review. If you don't know this about me, I'm a huge reader. I've always been a huge reader, and I thought it would be fun to do annual bookly reads. So I have my list here and I think we should just get started. So the first book I read in 2021 was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. The Song of Achilles, it's a historical fictional romance between Achilles and Patroclus during the Trojan War. Guys, it was so good. I literally did my oratory on it because this was sophomore year. The first like 2 pages that it's like, my father was a king and the son of kings. I don't have it with me. I can't find it. So here's a photo. I don't know who I lent it to, but it's one of my favorite books, so I will hunt them down to the ends of the earth to find it. I'm coming for you, whoever has it. So this is one of my favorite books that I read this year. It was absolutely wonderful. It's a really, really quick read. I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, so I knew the myth, I knew what happened, so I was able to follow along pretty carefully, but it was also super, super interesting to read because you're seeing it from Patroclus's point of view. Normally, you're only seeing Achilles, who's like this really amazing Greek hero, and as you follow along in their love story and in their romance, you are like, oh my god, this is like the most beautiful thing ever, and you're crying and it's sad, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I knew the Greek myth and what happens before I read this, so if I were to put my cry meter, it was only a 2 out of 5 because I knew what happened, but her writing, Madeline Miller's writing, is so goddamn beautiful. It is so good. It really just, it hurts you to your core. That's how good it is. And my favorite line from this book is, "We are made of memories." It's actually one of the captions on one of my Instagram posts. I have gotten my mom to read it, my friends to read it. I've gotten like 5 of my friends to read it, and they are all absolutely hooked. So I really recommend that everyone reads this one. It was a really fast, wonderful read, and let's move on to the next one. So the next book is from the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, and it's fairly popular, just like Song of Achilles is, and it's the Cruel Prince series. Here we go. So I was a little worried because I have heard some bad reviews about this series, but I remember seeing it and I liked the cover, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read this. It is a fantasy young adult about the Elfhame. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, Elfhame, but that's basically, you're following the protagonist Jude Duarte. Love her. She's absolutely ruthless, a complete badass, and like, I want to be her in life. Basically, she was taken by this green feller named Maddox as a child, along with her twin Taryn and their older sister, and it's basically you're following her as she's navigating her reach into adulthood, and there's a lot of drama. There's betrayal, there's banter, there's daggers, there's pretty ball gown dresses. So if that's what you're looking for, this is the series for you. I do understand why it could be hateable. It's definitely not the best books, but Holly Black is absolutely amazing, and I do completely respect her work and think it's wonderful. And at first, I'm gonna tell everyone, I hated Cardan. Like, hated him. And you're supposed to hate him, but even when you start to learn more about him and see like his traumatic backstory, I still hated him. I still was like, nah, girl, get out of there, run. I despised him, which leads us into the next book of the trilogy, The Wicked King. So The Wicked King does focus a little bit more on Cardan and Jude in like general and what's going on in Elfhame and the world around him. Super interesting. I love me a good fairy war. Love a good war in a book. The mysteries and the plot twists are absolutely insane. I loved them to the max, especially at the end. I will say The Wicked King, I don't remember, I read these obviously a really long time ago. I didn't know I was going to be filming this video, so I didn't create like a dialogue or anything, but I'm pretty sure The Wicked King was my favorite. I don't think The Queen of Nothing, which is the 3rd book in the series, was my favorite, but it was still amazing. This, you get Jude in armor and sword fighting and a snake, as you can see, and just all of the amazing things that are happening in this world. You just start to realize how actually brilliant Jude and Cardan are, especially when it's bringing the whole war to an end, to a close. And I really like these books. I would recommend them. But then again, you can throw a war with magic and I will probably read it. So then moving a little bit away from the fantasy, this is actually one of the first romance novels I have ever read in my life. It is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This was recommended to me by a friend, and I said, sure, totally, I'll read it. So I borrowed her copy. I read it on a road trip to North Carolina, and now this is my own copy because I wanted to reread it. So if that doesn't tell you enough about this book, I will tell you even more. So it is a romance that sort of reads a little bit like a fan fiction. It's about the Prince of England. His name is Henry, and Alex Claremont Diaz, who is the son of the president, who is a woman. Oh my god, it was such a wonderful book. It talks a lot about finding your own place in the world, a lot about love, a lot about not caring about what other people think, and just believing in yourself and your relationship with another person. The museum scene, my favorite. It was hilarious, to say the least. This book was so funny. There's some really good banter, and you just grow so attached to Henry and Alex and all of the characters, especially the sisters, Pesby. Oh my god, we love Pez. Especially the Thanksgiving turkey scene, absolutely hilarious. If you're looking for a fun, witty, will make you cry, I really, really recommend this book. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 because when I read about the Haunted Lamb mural, I did start sobbing in that car ride, to which my sister started recording me because it was embarrassing, to say the least. Okay, so the next one is something a little different. It's How the King of Elfham Learned to Hate Stories. So it's a bit of a background on Cardan and his younger life, because unlike the rest of his family, Cardan is actually 19 years old. Like, that is his actual age. He's not like 300 years old. So he is the youngest of them, which makes it even more special, his relationship with Jude, because they are actually the same age. And so this gives you a little bit into his background and also tells you a little bit more on his relationship with Jude at the moment. It has beautiful, beautiful art. I mean, you can tell just from the cover. I loved looking through this book and just looking at the art as well as reading the story. And it was nice. I liked it. I enjoyed it. The next book I read, it's The Lord of the Flies. So I decided to read this book. Could not tell you why. I mean, it is a big shift going from this to this. But I knew that it was short, and I was like, you know what, why not? Might as well read it. So The Lord of the Flies is written by William Golding. I liked the end. It follows the story of this group of boys whose plane crashed on an island during like what could be interpreted as World War III. I think it does say World War III. Yes, at the dawn of the next World War. So it's like World War III. And basically you're following these young boys as they are navigating how to survive and how to create a society in a deserted island with only themselves. The beginning of it for me was like I was reading Little Woman. Don't get me wrong, we love Little Woman. It's so boring. But then we got to the end. And the ending bit was so intense and just really good to read. I was zooming through it. I also thought the imagery in this book was absolutely amazing. William Golding is phenomenal. So if you need to read a more higher elevated book for school and they give you a choice, I do recommend Lord of the Flies. I did think it was good as a whole. And it's also pretty short, so you can get through it pretty quickly. Okay, the next book I read, do not have with me, but it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde. I had to read this one for school because we were doing Gothic literature, and that's the one I chose, mostly because I already knew the story. I assumed everyone knew the story. I don't know if I want to spoil it on here, but for those who know that Anywho, well, there's mystery, there's drama, horror. It's very short. And for that reason, I thought it was perfect because it's very short, but there's a lot compacted into it, a lot that you can figure out from the information that it gives you, especially before the big plot twist is revealed. It's by Robert Louis Stevenson, and I really recommend it. If you are into Gothic literature, that is the one that I would pick. And especially if you need to write an essay on it, there's a lot of juicy stuff in there. Okay, so next we have Black Enough, anthology of a bunch of different stories edited by A.B. Zobai. I probably said that wrong. It's not your average fantasy, horror, Gothic literature novel, but I wanted to read it because I do like reading like modern tellings that speak to like true issues of the social commentary sort of, but like for teens. I really liked it. It wasn't my favorite, mostly because it was an anthology. So obviously there were some stories in there that like I loved and ate up, and some of them I was just like, this is so boring. But I would recommend Internment, The Hate You Give before this type of book. But if someone wasn't into like long stories and wanted short anthologies, I would be like, oh, read this, it's perfect for you. So the next thing I read is Cersei. So this copy I borrowed from my mom, that's why I don't have it. It's another story by Madeline Miller. So obviously, you know, I'm already going to say that it is a beautiful read. All of the words that she puts onto a paper are somehow just magnificent. Like, I don't know how she does it. I want to be her. I wish I could be her, and I wish I could meet her so I could give her a hug and be like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Cersei obviously follows fantasy, historical fiction if you count mythology as like historical. And it follows the sorceress Cersei from her childhood up until like where she gets left off in mythology. She's a badass protagonist. It takes a while for her to navigate her life. It has its up and downs, but she comes out of it strong, powerful. I did not like the ending. I remember I read the ending and I literally was like, that's it, that's how it ends. I actually don't know if that's how the real life of Cersei ends. If it is, then like, okay, that's how it should have been done. But I still for sure recommend it. I think everyone should read it, but I would recommend Song of Achilles first. But I still was astounded reading it. Moving on, we have King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. It's currently with a friend. You have to read her Grisha trilogy first. Then you also have to read her Six of Crows duology. So that's Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And then you can read King of Stars. For those of you who have read it, it has all of your favorite characters. So that is King Nikolai, Zoya, Naskilevsky. It has Genya, it has David, it has, oh my gosh, just all of your favorite characters. Plot twist. It was insane, it was intense, but in order to read it, you have to read those other books first. So you might not understand what I'm saying, but basically it's following Zoya and Nikolai and Genya and the kingdom of Raqqa after the war that you see in the Grisha trilogy. And basically you're reading what's going on with Nikolai. Obviously he has this illness, and they're going to try and fix all of these weird things that are happening. All of a sudden you're brought into this whole new world about the saints, and that's Leigh Bardugo's doing, and it's wonderful. It was a little weird. It took me a while to get used to. I was like, this is weird, like, can we go back? But then you like start to understand, and you're like, wait, this is really cool, and this is really interesting. And then Zoya uncovers stuff about herself, Nikolai uncovers stuff about himself, and then a certain person and a certain something happens, and then it's just screaming everywhere. So much screaming. The banter in this book, just Zoya and Nikolai's relationship with each other. There's so much I could say about this book, but I would just say read it and you'll understand. So next we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. The way that this book makes me feel is the way that I wish I could feel all the time. Written by Benjamin Alire Science, it is a beautiful coming of age story about two young boys, obviously Aristotle and Dante, and it's just navigating Addie's personal life mixed with Dante's life and what they can do for each other, how they can help each other, especially with Aristotle and his life and his brother's in prison. His dad is struck by his past, and him and Addie don't have obviously the most perfect relationship. His relationship with his mom, his relationship with himself, and just figuring things out about himself and together. It read like poetry. It read like absolute poetry, and that's why I always recommend it to my friends who are like, oh, I'm not a reader, I don't like to read. I'm like, it's poetry. You just zoom right through it. The scene in the rain with the beer. And he came out with a second one called Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Depths. I don't know, I saw it in Target, but it was hardcover, and we're waiting for softcover. That's also why I haven't gotten Rule of Wolves yet, which is the second book to King of Scars, even after that plot twist, because I'm waiting for the softcover. And it hasn't come out yet. Okay, so the next book that I read was a little out of my comfort zone. It's This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab, which I had never read a V.E. Schwab book before. I don't know if I ever will again. Not in a bad way, as in she tore my heart in halfway. but I mainly got it because I really liked the cover. I thought it was beautiful. This is from her Monsters of Verity series because it takes place in Verity. Oh, did I say V.E. Schwab? Does she go by Victoria Schwab? It occurs in a dystopian world where monsters are running amok and you have like your 3 levels of monsters. This was more of a people book for me because you have your plot line in your people books. The plot line in this book was interesting, but it was the characters that made me continue reading. Kate is so cool. She's so cool, and August is also just like absolutely amazing, and just they're navigating this world together and just trying to save everybody, and just it's absolutely amazing. It's like we're rivals or enemies to lovers. It's just it was perfect. The second book, Our Dark Duet. 5 out of 5 on the crime meter. 5 out of 5. It was bad. It was bad. Her writing style did take 2 seconds for me to get used to. It was a little weird because it was different from what I'm used to, but once I was into it, I was into it. And then she latched onto my heart, and then she dug a bunch of nails into it, stuck a bomb in there, and set it off. Okay, moving on. Moving on was Madame Bovary. I had to read that for school. I don't recommend that to even... You know what? I would recommend that to my enemy. You should read it. It's a great book. You'll love it. I'm not even going to explain it. We're just going to move on. Taylor Jenkins Reid. The 7 Wives of Evelyn Hugo. 5 out of 5 on the crime meter again. I was in the Keys. I was on vacation. I was supposed to be having fun. Tears everywhere. I really loved this book. I liked the way it was set up. You're literally going through the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo and how it connects with her life and how it connects to the world outside of her life with this one girl who's interviewing her. And when you start to connect the dots and realize what's happening, and tears everywhere. I really liked it. I really enjoyed the writing. It was fun. It was beautiful. It was sad. Celia St. James. Cameron have my heart. Evelyn has my heart. A historical fiction in a way because it's like old Hollywood, but it's not based on anyone specifically. Okay, moving on. Next we have Antigone. I had to read Antigone for school. It's a play written by Sophocles. Amazing. Loved it. Antigone is a bad bee. I really recommend this if anyone has to like read a play for school or just for fun because it was super fast. It was beautiful to get through. Just Antigone is so cool. Similarly, I also read Medea for school. This one is by Euripides. Medea is a badass. She's a bad bee. She's super cool, super evil and ruthless and crazy and insane, and we love her for it. Okay, moving on. Before we go into our most recent book, I thought I would mention a failure. Here we have Scythe, written by Neil Shusterman. Oh, Neil, you lost me on page 103. It's just not for me. I can see how people would love this book, but just no, it's not for me. Anywho, The Priory of the Orange Tree. This is that bad boy that you've probably heard of. 848 pages of pure insanity. You have 4 different point of views that I hope will become one in the end. Right now we're on 3, but you start with Ede, favorite character, Tane. We love Tane. I feel bad for her. I feel it in my heart. I relate to her so much. Love her. Yeah, Loth. We're also following Loth, and then Dr. what's his face? Dr. Roos or something like that. Don't like him at all. Okay, so I would say we were confused up until like page 200. There's a lot of world building. There's a lot of things that you don't understand, and you will not understand until page 200. I think this book is absolutely beautiful. Mind you, it took me a really long time to get into it. Like, for the first... If you need a book to start off like that, I do not recommend this book. This book takes a while for the action to pick up. A really long while. But once it did, we fell in love. And that's where I am right now. And I am very excited to finish it. And that's why I can't really say anything else because I haven't finished it yet. But I thoroughly am enjoying this book. Samantha Shannon from Oxford, she went to that college. You are insane, and I respect you for that so much. Okay, everyone, so that is my 2021 book read. It was 20 books, 7,153 pages, and a lot of crying. thank you for following along and watching this video. If there's any books that you want me to read for 2022, please put them in my little comment description box down below. Although I know that my friends are the only ones who watch these videos and most of them don't read. So if you guys just want to put like a smiley face down there to make me feel better, please do so. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I've inspired some people to read, or at least given you some good books to put on your book list. And you know what? That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye everyone. Oh my god. I still hate doing. Oh, I can some starfish. Okay, we're done.